Hey guys, welcome to today's video, and in today's video we'll be covering how to make footstep sound effects in your first person blueprint really easily, and also be covering how to change them based on if the player is sprinting or not. So it's going to be a pretty simple tutorial. Let's get into it. So the first thing you're going to want to do is make sure you've imported your footstep sounds, and I would suggest having more than one, ideally 3 or 4, so it sounds more realistic. But over here I've got 2. So the next thing you're going to want to do is right click in your content browser, then look for audio and look for sound cue. Then we can name this sound cue, so SC, and then concrete. Then we can double click to enter. When you're inside your sound cue, click on the content drawer and then drag both of your sound effects out. And then out of output, for the first one, we can look for a random node, and then we can just plug the other one into the blank space. And if you have more, you can add inputs. But right now, I just have 2, so I'm going to leave it like this. Then finally, out of output, I'm just going to plug this into the final output over here. So essentially, this is pretty self-explanatory. This will basically choose a random sound effect between these two, so the footsteps sound more realistic. Next, you want to enter your BP first person character. And then you want to look to these basic, like the default nodes we have over here. Then after, you want to look for movement input. And then out of add movement input, so the rightmost node over here, you want to drag out, and we'll actually drag out a little far. We can look for a branch, and then we want to get velocity, so right click anywhere and get velocity, and then we want to split pin struct like this. And then out of the X value, we want to get greater than, then we want to put the value as 2, then we also want to get less than, and we want to set the value as 2, and then out of the return Y value, we can do the same thing. So we want to get a greater than and make sure it's 2, and then we want to get a less than and make sure it's 2. And then out of these 4, so just right click and look for an OR boolean, and then add 4 pins, make sure it has 4 pins, so add 2 more pins. Then you want to make sure these are all plugged in. Then out of the OR, we want to get an and boolean. And then out of the Z value, we want to double equal and make sure it's set to 0. And we can plug this into and then out of this and, we can plug it into the branch. So we could actually bring it closer here now. But essentially what's happening is it's going to check if we're moving, and it's also going to check if we're on the ground and not jumping or flying or anything. So out of true, we want to call a do once node. Then out of completed, we want to play sound 2D. Then the sound is going to be this sound cue over here. So we're going to just drag it in and place it here. And then out of the out pin of the play sound, we want to look for delay. And for the duration, we want to promote it to a variable, and we can call this, I already have it, footstep interval. So I'm just going to delete it like this. And I'm going to get our footstep interval variable, which is essentially just a float. Then the default value I would suggest as 0.6. Then out of completed, we want to plug this into reset, and that should be working, so we can test it out now. If I walk around, you should be able to hear it now. So as you guys can hear, it's working now, and you guys can experiment, maybe turn this down to 0.5. The lower this value is, the faster the footsteps will be. So I'm going to keep this at 0.5 actually, so we can test it out. As you see, it's quite good for the speed our player is moving. The next thing we want to do is we want to be able to change it based on if the player is sprinting or not. So we want to look for wherever our sprinting logic here. Here's just some really basic sprinting knowledge. When the left shift key is pressed, it changes the speed, and then when it's released, it changes back to default speed. So we just want to set the footstep interval to a smaller value. So maybe 0.35 instead of 0.5. Oh, sorry, not in here. In here, we want to change it to 0.35. And then out of the released, we want to set it back to whatever it is by default, so 0.5. And that should be it. So let's test it out. So while I'm walking, this is the footstep interval. And when I start sprinting, it increases. And as you see, actually, as I jumped, it stopped. And as I fell, it stopped as well. So that's about it. Thank you guys for watching today's video. And if you want more cool tutorials on Unreal Engine, like how to make this car without any plugins, make sure to check out my channel. And thank you guys for watching.